Hi, this is Ashley Latt again, and I'd like to carry on with the theme of what I discussed in the last video, which is called getting outside the comfort zone. And one of the phrases that I really like, and of course it's the Nike one, which of course is just do it. I'm going to share with you just a couple of quick stories with you that hopefully will give you encouragement to step outside the comfort zone. Story number one is my own personal life. About 2 years ago, I got asked to speak at a conference in Atlanta. Now, this was a orthodontic conference. It was a 3-day program, and I was asked to speak there at 7 a.m. on the Saturday morning at this conference. And I was asked to speak to 70 orthodontists and dentists about ethical sales and communication course. Now, bear this in mind, it's 7 a.m. till 8 a.m. It's 1 hour, and it's before the 3rd day of this program. My biggest concern was how many people would actually turn up to hear me speak. Because after all, Manchester to Atlanta and back home again is a long way to go just to speak for an hour. However, I looked at all the opportunities it possibly may bring me. If I'm a success, I might start being able to deliver courses out there. And if I deliver courses out there, look how big America is, and the whole American market could open up to me. Of course, there's a downside, and the downside was it's a long way to go. What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if nobody turns up? But the thing that went through my mind is this. What is actually the very, very worst thing that can actually happen? Well, the very worst thing that can actually happen is no one actually turns up. And the second worst thing that can actually happen is I'm a complete failure. But actually, will people in the United Kingdom know that I'm a failure? It won't affect my business here, and probably won't affect the rest of my business in Europe. I would only fail in Atlanta for 1 hour. So I decided to give the gig an opportunity, and I said yes to it. And what I did was I wrote to all the delegates on that course and told them the major benefits that they needed to do to get up at 7 a.m. and come and hear me speak. Out of 71 delegates, 70 people actually turned up, only one overslept. And I gave a fantastic presentation. As a direct result, over the next 12 months, I went back to America on 3 further occasions to deliver my 2-day ethical sales and communication course. And a new opportunity opened up. But if I hadn't gone, I would never have found out. Another story that recently happened to me was a delegate on one of my 2-day ethical sales and communication course. Her name was Jane. And she recalled a story to me that had just happened that week. And this is exactly what happened. A patient had come in to see her about having some treatment done. It was about having some Invisalign treatment. And the patient agreed to go ahead with the treatment in the surgery. As she left the surgery, her husband was waiting in the waiting room. And the first question he asked his wife was, how much is the treatment? On hearing how much the investment was, he exploded and went mad. He dragged his wife out, and unfortunately, the patient never made a further appointment to have the treatment done. My dentist, Jane, never came out to speak to her husband. She just waited in the surgery, and she recalled the story to me. I asked her and said to her, well, had you followed up the patient at home and see if you can take the conversation further? Maybe invite her in and see if you can overcome her fears. And Jane said she hadn't done that so far because she was scared that if her husband actually answered the phone. So she decided not to make the phone call. In other words, she was staying in her comfort zone. And I spoke to Jane and said, look, what's the very, very worst thing that can happen? Well, the worst thing that can happen is a husband answers the telephone, he gives you some more verbal, and he doesn't go ahead. But that's exactly the same result as you've got now. So why don't you make the phone call, step outside your comfort zone, and just see what happens? You just never know. Just do it, as Nike would say. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. So at that time, I helped to make the phone call. I helped to write down on a piece of paper what she should say. And lucky enough, it was actually the wife that answered the phone. She, of course, was very apologetic for her husband's behaviour and was really wanting to go ahead with the treatment. Jane, on hearing this, invited the patient to come back in, but also to come back in with her husband, so she could overcome his fears and maybe see if they can come to a win-win scenario. An appointment was made for that Saturday at 9:30, and her husband came in. And obviously the first thing her husband said was that he apologised for his behaviour last week and he just had a bad day at the office. To cut a very, very long story short, you probably know what happened next. An agreement was made, a payment plan was put together where the payments were spread over 12 months interest free, and the patient went ahead with the treatment. However, that would have never happened unless Jane steps outside her comfort zone and had a go. And neither I would have ran courses in America as well. So if I could offer you one piece of advice, is this: step outside the comfort zone. Opportunities are outside here, but you have to step out. And sometimes, as Nike says, just do it. Have a go. And ask yourself this question: what's the very, very, very worst thing that can happen? And once you find out that solution, what that worst thing that can happen is, then really anything else is an improvement on that. As Nike say, just do it. Skills and attitude that are important in a consultation with your patient. So imagine a patient's coming to see you. Let's imagine they're coming to see you about some sort of cosmetic treatment, and they're in the consultation.